Happy New Year, everybody. It is January 1st, 2025, and you know what that means. That means I am no longer the YouTuber of the year. I am no longer the host of YouTuber of the month. That has now passed on to its newest iteration, and very shortly I will be announcing who that is. I'm really excited. It's been a hell of a year. And last year, the Real Bit Wars put on kind of a Ask Me Anything about YouTuber of the Month, about gaming in general, about my channel. I've already got a few questions from people, but I am accepting any questions from the chat. And just in case we don't have a lot of questions in the chat, I do have a bunch of questions that were asked to Chris last year that could be applicable to me as well. And so if you're watching later, hopefully some of these questions answer burning questions about the competition or my channel or about what I think about gaming in general. So first things first, we have an order of business. As you guys probably know, over the month of December, we were voting for our YouTuber of the Month for January 2025, as well as the YouTuber of the Year for 2025, who will be taking on the hosting of that competition. And I see we've got two of our YouTuber of the Year nominees in the chat already. We've got Upper Nimbus and Girl Gamer Rezi. As well as I'll say hi to Albo America, Zenbloke. Zenbloke was a nominee for YouTuber of the Year last year. One of my competitors gave me a run for my money. It was a really difficult race, but great guy. Go check out his content for sure. Retro Bliss Gaming, that is the gentleman that nominated me for YouTuber of the Month last year. Also a great channel. He does a lot of live streams of second gen homebrew games. We've got Tim Lindner. He is one of the two drunk siblings from the channel My Drunk Sibling. One of my favorite YouTube channels every Friday. Him and his sister just play a game against each other while drinking, and it's a lot of fun. Like I mentioned, we've got Upper Nimbus, we've got Salvatore, we've got Girl Gamer Rezi, Critical Ranker, Jeremiah Thomas. He's got a question for me. We've got Raza is Retro. He was a nominee last year for a month and a nominee this year for a month. So let's get on to who will be hosting next year for YouTuber of the Month, or rather this year for YouTuber of the Month. We had 4 nominees. Those nominees were Upper Nimbus. We had Girl Gamer Rezi. We had the Original Masters, and we had Benji's Retrospective. All of them great channels, all of them winners of YouTuber of the Month last year. And in order to step up, like hosting YouTuber of the Month is work. It's added, it's in addition to whatever else you're doing on your channel. So if you make weekly or monthly videos, this is another monthly video that you have to do, and you got to do 2 in December. So the very fact that all 4 of these guys stepped up and were willing to take it on was awesome. And that was one of my biggest concerns over the year. It's like, okay, I really hope that we have some people who are willing to take it on. So I'm going to go through all 4 and say some nice things about them because they're all great channels. So we'll start with Girl Gamer Rezi. So Girl Gamer Rezi is a YouTuber from Belgium. The Rezi comes from Resident Evil. That's what she likes to be called, Rezi. If she had won, she did not. But if she had won, she was going to do a Resident Evil theme for the year. And I think that would have been really, really cool. I hope she does it with something else. That would have been awesome to see. She does a lot of live streams, particularly of like Resident Evil games and stuff like that. She's done a lot of Final Fantasy. So definitely go check her out. Next is Benji's retrospective, and he only started at the start of 2024. So when I won YouTuber of the year, that was my first year on YouTube. So I've now been on YouTube for 2 years, almost 2 years. And so there's this kind of a special place in my heart for him, just because he, it's his first year on YouTube. It was my first year on YouTube. He does a lot of cool little reviews. They're nice and short. They're kind of like mine, but he does them of like Master System games from back in the day or Atari games from back in the day. He's been doing a series on Donkey Kong Country 3, I believe. I love his kind of laid back approach. He does some silly skits and intros, kind of like I do. So absolutely go check him out. He's a great channel. He's a gentleman from Australia. And then in our second place slot was the Original Masters. So the Original Masters are in the US, and they have this kind of skit show where they've got a third character named Shtick. He's a skeleton with a jacket, and his mouth moves. If you were a fan of the Craig Ferguson show back in the day, kind of like Jeff Peterson, the co-host of the skeleton, that would always kind of chip in and make funny comments. They've got that kind of show. They do a lot of retro reviews and playthroughs and stuff like that. They're really, really fun. So absolutely go check out the Original Masters. And then we have our winner. Our winner is also from Australia, and the new host for YouTuber of the Month is Upper Nimbus. So if you want to follow the competition moving forward, go check out his channel. He does a lot of more modern stuff like Switch and JRPG stuff. He does a lot of collaborations. There is some retro, mostly older videos have some retro. But he is going to be an awesome host, I have no doubt. He definitely has the energy for it. So please, congratulations, Upper Nimbus, and please, everybody, go check out his channel, give him a sub, and follow this competition moving forward. Congratulations to you. We've already talked. I've already passed him on his first monthly winner. Hopefully that works out okay. But as you know, Upper Nimbus, I've told you, if you need help with that for this month and there's any kind of issue, I will help you with that. Because admittedly, December, the YouTuber of the Month competition gets kind of dwarfed and hidden by the YouTuber of the Year competition. Like, that's the big one. And so we didn't have a ton of votes for the monthly winner in December. So hopefully everything goes smoothly. I got very lucky. Actually, the winner that was passed on to me from the Real Bit Wars, who did it in 2023, was Upper Nimbus. He was the YouTuber of the Month for January, and I got really lucky. He was prepared. He sent me his video. All was good. So hopefully that is the case for you as well. Now, ask me anything. So, like I said, questions can be about YouTuber of the Month. Questions can be about my time as host. Questions can be about what I thought about different things. Questions can be about my channel. Questions can be about gaming in general. I will sit here and answer everything that you guys have got. I've kind of budgeted an hour for this stream, but if we end early, that's fine. And if we go long, that's fine too. We're going to start with one from the chat. Jeremiah Thomas is one of my subscribers. He's actually a member of my channel, and I appreciate him very much. However, he has issue with some of my scores that I give in mini reviews. I do mini reviews on Atari 2600 games, and I recently did Night Driver, and I stabbed a knife through his heart because I gave it a 4 out of 10. Now, the gameplay... Well, let me read his question first. Are you now willing to admit your spurious and fallacious claims against Night Driver and the travesty of your score? So obviously Jeremiah Thomas loves Night Driver. Here's Night Driver right here. Atari 2600 game. Earlier Atari 2600 game. Night Driver is not a bad game. It uses the paddle controllers, and I love the paddle controllers. It has decent graphics for an early 2600 games. You've got like the trees and the houses that fly by you as you're driving. It has cars on the road that you have to dodge, and your car kind of stays in the center middle, and you use the paddles and you spin the paddles around to kind of steer the road around you. That's how it kind of works. There's no real physics to the driving, but that's okay. It's an early Atari 2600 driving game. I gave it a 4 out of 10 because I rank these as how I would recommend them to people now. And the fact is that the Atari 2600 has much better racing games, even if they don't use the paddle. My favorite racing game is Enduro. And I did like Night Driver back in the day, but I literally got a headache. Like my eyes would start to cross because the edges of the road are these pylons that keep flying by. And especially when there's like an S turn in the track, just there's little orange dots everywhere and my eyes go blurry, and it gave me a headache to play. So gameplay is at least a 6. The gameplay is great. It's the graphics and the pylons that dropped it for me. If I was to go back, maybe I'd give it a 5, but yeah, they're personal scores, man. I appreciate your input. I appreciate when you call me on stuff. You called me on Pitfall, and just based on its legendary status, yeah, I should have bumped it up to an 8. I gave it a 7. But it's just, I'm not a big Pitfall fan, and these are personal rankings for what I would personally recommend. So thank you for the question. I apologize for my score, but that is that. Zenbloke says he had to reset 5 times a comment, but thanks for the shout out. Absolutely, dude. I love your channel. Zenbloke does a lot of, opinions and thoughts on the gaming community as a whole. I don't always agree with him. He's definitely in that Sony camp. But I also always appreciate the opinions. I've never been upset that somebody has a different opinion than me. Raza is Retro, fellow Canadian, says you did a fantastic job this year hosting, Mike. Thank you very much. And I did Canada proud. I appreciate that. I agree. Reza would have made a great host. I think any of those 4 nominees would have made great hosts this year. And like I said, I really hope she does some kind of Resident Evil themed videos, because I think that would be really cool to see. And now that I'm not hosting YouTuber of the Month, I have more time to go and watch not only some of my friends, but some of these new channels that I've subbed to and they're waiting, and I've been waiting to kind of have time to go in and watch their stuff. Upper Nimbus says that Benji is a lovely man. I get that from his videos. You definitely see that. Benji is good in Final Fantasy and an Aussie legend. Lots of love for Benji here, who just hit 150 subscribers. That's actually something I should mention. The winner this year is Upper Nimbus. Girl Gamer Rezi is no longer eligible to be nominated for YouTuber of the Month because she hit her 1,000 subscribers. Congratulations. However, the Original Masters and Benji's retrospective are both now eligible again to be nominated for YouTuber of the Month. And it wouldn't, if they were and they won, it would not be the first time that somebody won a month in 2 consecutive years and then potentially won the hosting duties for the following year in their second run. I believe Sega Zombie was that. He won a monthly and then he lost the year competition, but then he won another month and he became host. So Happy New Year, Mr. Baseman. Getting lots of congrats for Upper Nimbus. Go check him out. Retro Bliss Gaming says, please keep YouTuber of the Year Retro. Please, please, please. So on that, obviously, I'm a retro channel. Most of my reviews are second, maybe third gen. I think I have done a Dreamcast review, but by the terms of what I defined, that qualifies as retro. So what I qualified retro as was sixth generation and earlier. And I wanted to keep it as open as possible, but still have that retro contingency there. So I was generous with what I considered retro, at least by my standards. And I did not say that you had to be a retro channel. There was never a rule that said you had to be a retro channel, just that there had to be some retro on your channel. I would like to see that continue, but it is not mine to decide anymore. And I did ask when I shot that thing with Jason Relaxation. So Jason Relaxation is the founder of YouTuber of the Month. He founded it in 2009. And then he hosted for, I think, 2-3 years. And then that's when Jill Poo 3 took it over, and it kind of became what it is now. And I asked him, I didn't want to bug him too much, but I did ask him when I was there, is YouTuber of the Month a retro competition? Because it has certainly, over the years, become that kind of targeted retro competition. And he said, no, I didn't make any decision on that. I kind of left it open. So some of the guys that, like, we would look at it now, and some of the guys that were nominated for YouTuber of the Month in those early ones would be considered retro now, but at the time they weren't. So wherever it goes is where it goes. I would love to see that retro contingency. And like, honestly, you could be doing all Nintendo Switch content or PlayStation content, but if you got one video talking about how you loved that GameCube game like Pikmin, or how you loved Ocarina of Time, that would qualify you in my rule. So that is, I would like to see it there. I would like to see a retro aspect remain in there. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, if you removed that and it was all modern stuff, okay, it's not as relevant to me anymore. But as long as it's relevant to the people participating, I think that's okay. But personally, I would love to see that retro bit still in there. So let's go through. Retro Bliss Gaming is asking, will the rules for the competition remain the same? That is a question for Upper Nimbus, which I'm sure that comment was for Upper Nimbus. We will see. I don't even know that. So we'll see if there's any. Oh, there you go. There's the answer. So no rules will be removed. They will stay the same, but there may be an addition to them. So I'm excited to see what that is. Okay, so next question. I don't know if I asked this when I interviewed you for Vertical Slice. Vertical Slice is a little series that Zen Bloke does. But how did you come up with the Doctor Who theme, and what problems did it cause you? So my idea with the Doctor Who theme, I've always been a big Doctor Who fan. Admittedly, I haven't watched it for like 5 or 6 years, but right through, like, my favorite Doctor is Patrick Troughton, which is the second Doctor. But like, I've watched the entire series, at least what is still available. There's some first and second Doctor episodes missing. Right up through to the end of Matt Smith. I watched a bit of Peter Capaldi, but I found that the writing was just getting pretty bad with Doctor Who, so I kind of dropped out of it then. It wasn't because there was a girl Doctor. I have no problem with a girl Doctor. But my idea of going with the Doctor Who theme was that YouTuber of the Month gets passed on to a new host every year. And I really just wanted to do a regeneration sequence with Chris. I thought that would be really cool to start my my year of hosting. And then obviously, if you're going to do that, carry the theme. One of the things that I really liked about Chris's year of hosting the Real Bit Wars was that he had like a history segment every month, and it kind of told you about the history of the competition. And before especially before I did my YouTuber of the Year, I went back and I rewatched all of those because it gives you a really good sense of how everybody's years of hosting were. And I went back and I watched some of those former years of hosting. Some of them aren't on YouTube anymore, and therefore my only real access into them were the real Bit Wars videos. But that's why in my YouTuber of the Year video, I had kind of like, and the historian, the real Bit Wars at the end there when I was listing the previous hosts. And so I carried it on through that. It gave me a theme for my background. It gave me a costume to wear. I wore an Atari shirt and a little trench coat, which it's dark, but you can probably see behind me there. It's draped over a chair with my green screen. Yeah, so we'll see how that. Yeah, so I just ran with it. It didn't really give me any problems. One of the things about my channel is I'm good at those, like all my videos have those little intros. And it was actually kind of having that theme was a good fallback point. It made it so that I felt more comfortable. Like every month when I had to go do the video, it wasn't overwhelming that I had to start it all over again. I had a background. I just had to put different logos in it. I had an intro theme done for every month. I just had to change the month on it. So it was actually kind of a nice template that I was able to create for myself. Whereas for the YouTuber of the Year video, I wanted to make it bigger. So I actually had to find a 3D model of the TARDIS control room. And I rendered out a whole pile of stuff and put myself in there. That probably made it more difficult for me just because I wanted to have the big finale. But that finale had been in my head for like since January, basically. I knew the kind of thing I wanted to do. And while driving in the car, I'd listen to music and it'd be like Doctor Who music and other music that would give me more ideas. I'm like, okay, I want to do this. I want to do that. So yeah, it didn't cause me a lot of problems, but the Doctor Who theme comes from that kind of passing the torch mentality. January winter hasn't gotten to Upper Nimbus yet. The most stressful part about running YouTuber of the Month is that transition. It's like, okay, will I be able to get a hold of them? Will I be able to whatever? Comment on their videos. I know that that the winner is very active on YouTube, so comment on their videos. Just be like, hey, you won YouTuber of the Month. Contact me. Sometimes YouTube flags and removes contact me things, so try to contact them in as many different ways as you can. I would give it a day or two. They're in a different time zone than you are, and you will have that issue a lot of times. Okay, so some Canada's greats. Rush, love Rush. SCTV, love SCTV. Trailer Park Boys, I love Trailer Park Boys. They're a guilty pleasure of mine. And Mike's Gaming Gala. Thank you very much. I would add Jason Relaxation to that. Mr. Postal asks, are you wearing pants and underwear for the stream as a change? You said ask anything. I am wearing pants today. It's winter. It's chilly in here. Well, it's not chilly in this room, but it's chilly out. Happy New Year, PJ Venom. Upper Nimbus won the honors. And congratulations. And indeed, you did a phenomenal job, Mike. Thank you very much. PJ Venom says he's very relaxed in all things gaming, retro and modern. He enjoys both. Okay, so are there any? So, Upper Nimbus says that ending video was so hype, you went all out. I did. I will admit that there is a part of me that wanted to make something that whoever the new host was going to be would be like, how the hell do I follow that? So hopefully you don't feel that way. I know you're going to do a great job, but yeah, so I did want to make it big. It was my big finale. Girl Gamer Resi says her favorite moment was when I was called to do a life channel against Castlevania and I just paused to survive. Yes, but it also ended up being my undoing because I accidentally unpaused. But Castlevania is a very difficult game. I have beaten it before, but without dying, no, there's no way I can do that without dying. So yeah, I'm glad you like that. That was originally supposed to be so. Throughout this year, I wanted to do collaborations with all the other my fellow nominees for YouTuber of the Year last year. And those were Cooppola Nerds, Marco's Blind Gaming, and Zenbloke. So Zenbloke episode, we did a collaboration where he basically hacked in because he came in second place and not by a big margin. He was close. So he hacked in and actually ran a month. And I called that episode The Scotsman. And then Marco's Blind Gaming, we had him as like an alien floating eyeball that came in and we talked. And that episode was supposed to be not Kogengo, Cooppola Nerds, who was the other. And I think I said that Kogengo was a nominee for YouTube there. It was Cooppola Nerds. My apologies. But Cooppola Nerds were unfortunately busy. They have a lot going on. They've got kids. They had to move. So, but what he had done in his monthly video, what Fresh and Mary did is they had Fresh with the crown, and he's like, "I'm the king," and all that. So I used that screen with the crown to kind of represent Cooppola Nerds. So, what question? Oh, Kids in the Hall. Kids in the Hall was awesome. What game have I got lined up that I'm excited to review? So this week I still have off of work, so I'm going to be doing a lot of game recording. But a couple days ago I had my brothers over, and quite often when I have my brothers over, we play NES games. So we played 2 NES homebrews and we beat them. We passed the controller around kind of thing. So, but it's Panzer and Panzer 2. And both games are tough as nails, especially the first one. It's very unforgiving, but they're very good games. So probably this month I'll review one of them, and then in the future I'll review another. So that I'm excited for. And I've got some Vectrex games that I got to record footage for maybe tonight or maybe in the next couple nights. So, yeah, I'm excited to do some more Vectrex on my channel. Okay, so that's all the questions that are in the chat currently. I'm going to read some questions that I got as comments, and then if there's no more questions in the chat, I'll go through some of the other questions that were asked to Chris last year. But Do You Nerd asked, what did you find most rewarding about hosting YouTuber of the Month? I would say easily when the nominees were also excited about being nominated. It's kind of a roller coaster. Some months you'd have your 5 nominees and none of them are posting videos. None of them are trying to get votes. It's a very low voting month. None of them seem to really care that they're in the competition. And those are kind of disheartening. Obviously, this community is about that. It's about promoting. It's about encouraging new channels. There's been some criticism that it's a sub for sub thing. And I have no doubt that some people use it that way. Hey, I was nominated. I subbed to you. Oh, okay. I'll sub to you too. But that's not how I ever viewed it. YouTuber of the Month, for me, introduced me to Retro Bliss Gaming. It introduced me to Game Closet and Mr. Postile and BCB. And these are all people that I consider friends now. I unfortunately don't get to check out all the content all the time. But you know, one of my favorite things to do on YouTube, whether I'm into what they're talking about or not, is to go visit my friends. And that's why I said in my YouTuber of the Year video that YouTube isn't television, it's social media and interacting with people and collaborating. And that has opened me. I was kind of an island prior to YouTuber of the Month, and that opened me up to the wider world of what YouTube's supposed to be. And I'm very appreciative for that. So when I would see nominees voting for each other, I love that because it shows it's the community vibe. When I saw people excited about being nominated because they're a small channel and they haven't been noticed before, and posting, hey, I got nominated for YouTuber of the Month, go vote for me. When people would get excited about it, that was the most rewarding for me. That made it all worthwhile. So the next question was from the Real Bit Wars. What's your New Year's YouTube resolution? I've got several. Admittedly, my channel, its mission statement is to support the homebrew community. Not a specific console, just homebrews in general, new games for old systems. And that is admittedly a niche within a niche within a niche. You've got video gaming, then you've got retro gaming, and then you've got homebrew retro gaming. And that keeps me pretty limited in size, I think. So what I want to do is something that I wanted to do this past year, but honestly, I didn't have the time, not only because of the YouTuber Month competition, but life. It didn't allow me the time to do much more than what I already do, but I want to expand that scope a little bit. It's, I'm always going to have that homebrew review. That's something that I'm dedicated to. But if I could also release stuff that has a broader scope, system reviews, maybe some more kind of old game reviews that, from the original libraries, history kind of videos. There's been several people who've asked me to do a live show on my own. I have no idea how I would do that with the time that I've got. And I love being on the Retro Bliss Rewind podcast. I simulcast it every night, Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're coming back next week. But yeah, there's plenty of things that I could be doing and I want to do, should I have the time and the ability to do so. I still haven't gotten my 7,800 plus video out, so I want to do that. I see there was another question in the chat here. So Albo asked, what channels did I nominate when I was nominating them last year? I nominated Go Game Go, Aquapole of Nerds, Aries, Brain Slush TV, Dad is a Joke, Retro Rockin' Gamer, and My Drunk Sibling. Those are the channels that I nominated. Last month, our nominees were from Vietnam Retro Gaming Broadcast. So we had 2 Vietnamese channels, we had a UK channel, and a couple others. Yeah, so that's what was nominated in that last month. But my nominees were those, and they're all great channels. I like them all, and I check in when I can, which unfortunately is not as often as I'd like. PJ Venom says, I've never taken part in YouTuber of the Month, but just stumbling across it and chatting when Generation Pixel was host. So Generation Pixel was host in 2022. Has made him lots of new YouTube gaming pals. And exactly, that's what it's about. And Girl Gamer Rezi says when she got nominated the first time, so she was nominated a previous year, and then she was nominated in 2024 and won her month. She's still in contact with Darkuli and Acid Cheese Gaming. And the second time she connected with Raza and Sometimes Buzz. And Acid Cheese Gaming was one of her nominees, and he won his month. Yes, if I get a TurboGrafx 16 homebrew on my desk, I'll have Ryan Janot look over it. He actually sells some of them, but they're mostly just ports and hacks. And I review ports and hacks, but I prefer to review new games. But Ryan Geno is a huge TurboGrafx 16 guy, so absolutely will. Super Mega Graphics 64, Cyrus says, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Cyrus. Thank you for all the cool stuff you've done for the Intellivision homebrew scene. That's pretty cool. I love the Intellivision. It doesn't get me tons of views, but I love the Intellivision, and the reason to love the Intellivision is a homebrew scene. So I will continue to do that. I love it very much. And the Intellivision Gamer, Casey, what he does is awesome too. His news show every Monday. I love seeing people support the Intellivision homebrew scene. Intellivision has kind of gone through the ringer over the last 5-6 years with the Amico debacle, but I think that homebrew scene is our biggest chance to put a positive view of the Intellivision back out there. So let's go through here. PJ Venom was offered a nomination, but he was too busy, so he turned it down. So he's just happy seeing new channels and voting. Yes, I would agree. And Guardian Game Studios, Spencer, who I have to give a call. Hey, Mike, thank you for all you do for the gaming community. Your class act. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Spencer, and thank you. I appreciate that very much. Yes, Mr. Baseman, you need an Intellivision. And Upper Nimbus, our new host, says being able to vote is one of the most fun things about YouTuber of the Month. Always had a blast discovering new channels. Yes, in 2025, I will be able to vote again, and that will be awesome. All right, so that's everything from the chat. Our next question was from Old Game Fiction. It was on one of my other videos, and I told him that I would include it in this. How do you get all your costumes for your videos? So for about 12 years, I ran an event here in the Toronto area called the Toronto Prop Expo. For a very long time, about 20 years, I have been a member of a community of people who recreate movie props and costumes and stuff like that. I've never been a cosplayer, like I don't dress up, but I've had some of those items. And I have worked in the film and television industry for about 22, 23 years now. And prior to that, like when I was a kid, I used to check out the big bulky VHS video camera from my high school. And over the course of a weekend, we'd make a movie and then I would edit it. And so I made a whole bunch of movies when I was in high school. And so I've got a long history of being able to make things with next to no budget. One thing I did do is, I didn't do it this year or in 2024, but I did in 2023, is on November 1st, I went to a Spirit Halloween store when everything was 50% off and bought a few costumes that I knew would be like generic costumes that I could use. So I got a cowboy hat. I got a tricorn hat, which then I was able to fold up and turn into Napoleon's hat for that intro. I got what's now the Mike the Knight costume. It was just a generic Knight costume. So I spent probably about 200 Canadian, but I got like $400 or $500 worth of costumes and stuff. And some I haven't used yet. But it is surprising what you can do with just a leather jacket and a generic helmet. Like I've got a motorcycle, so I have a motorcycle helmet. That's been a space helmet. That's been a racing helmet. And you put on a motorcycle jacket that looks like you could be flying a spaceship with it or something like that. A little goes a long way. And I have found that if you as long as you sell it with your acting, or at least try to, I am by no means a good actor, but if you try to sell it, if you really just commit to the bit, people will buy what you're selling. And obviously I've got a bit of a visual effects background. Nothing I've done on my channel would be considered good in my professional job, but with no budget and no time, just throw the right background in there, commit to the bit, and you get away with a lot. So Fat Boy says, you don't cosplay. Have you watched your own videos? I will dress up for the camera for my videos, but that's not cosplay, that's acting. And Fat Boy also says, please hit that like button. Yes, please hit that like button, as well as Happy New Year's. So Happy New Year's to you too, sir. Yes, no wonder, but yes. So, but I will be completely honest, my career hasn't helped with that as much as that experience from being a kid with no money making movies. Because it just forces you to think differently about how you shoot things. But one thing my career has done is allow me to do things that would take other people a lot longer, quicker, because I already know, like if I'm shooting something green screen, I know what I need to get what I'm going for. So stuff like that definitely helps. Just the experience of knowing what to do. Fat Boy says his mom can make my costumes. Yeah, man, send me costumes. Always up for more costumes. What's my favorite Resident Evil? So from a nostalgia perspective, Resident Evil 2. I played the heck out of that back in the day. I love Resident Evil 2. But what do I think is the one that I think is the most entertaining and also the scariest is Resident Evil 7. The one that starts, I think it's 7, yeah. The one that starts where you have to go into that cottage. And there is nothing scarier. Like, I like horror movies. I like jump scares. I like all that. But I am a damn baby when it comes to that. Like, when I first started playing Resident Evil 7, I noped out of that cottage like 5 times before I finally committed to it and went in, because I knew what was going to be in there. And there's something terrifying about somebody that you're supposed to care about, especially, and this isn't sexist, but like, especially like a vulnerable girl or young woman or something, and they get that evil face with the smile and all that. It's just, it etches in my brain, like The Exorcist etched in my brain when I first saw that years and years ago. There's just something terrifying about somebody who's supposed to be vulnerable is now like this terrifying creature. So that messed with me. And then I saw there was VR, and I'm like, there's no way in absolute hell that I'm playing this in VR, because I'm a big baby. I've gone to, it's funny, one of my ex-girlfriends I went to one of those horror things, like where you walk through and they jump out and they try to scare you. And there was one, and my ex-girlfriend said it was hilarious because you squealed like a little girl and then punched like Mike Tyson. So I jumped about 10 miles and then I punched the poor guy in the face, and I was asked to leave. So that's me with horror stuff. I squeal like a little girl, but I punch like Mike Tyson. Albo asks, what bike do I ride? I have a 2001 Honda Shadow American Classic Edition. I love that bike. Admittedly, I have not ridden it since I had a friend in 2023. He was 52. He had 2 lovely kids and a wife that all depended on him. And he was riding home from work, and through no fault of his own, a car pulled in front of him. He hit it, and he was dead when he hit the ground. And he left people who depended on him without a husband and a father. And that made me really think about, like, because I love riding my motorcycle. I absolutely loved riding my motorcycle. And I was sometimes an idiot. I'd do it with a t-shirt. But that really made me take a step back and realize that there are people that depend on me. So it has sat in my garage now for a year and a half. I haven't ridden it since. So it's one of those things. I've considered selling it because Lord knows I could use the money. The economy has been terrible these last couple of years. But I think maybe when my kids are older and moved out and not as dependent on me, I'll pick it up again. But I think just from a responsibility standpoint, because it can be no fault of your own, you've got no protection, and there are plenty of idiots on the road. So I'll revisit that at some point. But right now, I'm not riding it. Nice. Resident Evil 2 is Rezzy's favorite as well. My favorite JRPG is Final Fantasy VI. I know that's a basic bitch answer. I prefer the kind of Super Nintendo and NES era of RPGs. Final Fantasy has always been like, I played it Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy 2 on the Super Nintendo in North America, and Final Fantasy 3. Those were the three that I played tons of. I played tons of Final Fantasy 7. I respect Final Fantasy 7. But especially when it hit Final Fantasy 8, that's when it started to get a little too emo for me. But yeah, so I would say Final Fantasy 6. It's a basic bitch answer, but sometimes it's all right to be basic bitch. What crazy ideas would I like to do that I can't currently do as far as costumes or sets? The fact of the matter is, with green screen, I can do pretty much everything I'd want to do. I'd love to up the scale of what I do to like professional levels, but then I'd be releasing a video every 2 months as opposed to every week. There's nothing that I can't currently do. There's definitely, aside from raise the production value of what I do, I don't, like, one thing I would like to do, I've got, so my most recent review was Seawolf. And so I set my boys and I up in a submarine, took clips from Das Boot, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, and kind of spliced them together with me pretending to be a submarine captain. There's another submarine game that I have for the Vectrex that I'll be reviewing in the next couple months. And so I want to do a sequel to that bit, but it'll be much more difficult because it won't just be us. Like, I want to do like after we've been depth charged and we're all like quiet and sitting, and you kind of need a whole crew, and I need like a 3D model of a submarine. If I'm going to do it right, I have to figure out how to do it. I know I can do it. It's just, okay, can I find the assets that will allow me to? But I don't think there's anything that I can't do. There's definitely, like, if I wanted to dress up like an alien, for instance, to do that well is really difficult and expensive. So you're probably not going to see me as an alien aside from some face paint and some wire antennas. Like, there's a certain campiness to everything I do. It would be great to raise that production value to be more like what I do professionally. For those who, like, I worked on 2 of the Harry Potter movies. I worked on Star Trek Discovery. I was a focus puller on the 2009 Star Trek. As a huge nerd, just the fact that I worked on Star Trek, like, I made barely any money doing either of the gigs, but just the fact that I got to work on Star Trek was a dream come true. Unfortunately, I never worked on anything Star Wars. I would love to work on something Doctor Who. That's never happened. But like, I do stuff at a very high level professionally, but I can't say that I'm able to do that on my channel. So that would be great. Yes, shadows are dope. I really like my shadow. And Retro Bliss says there's 2 types of bikers, those who have had wrecks and those who will. Yes, thankfully I've never had a wreck. I've had a few close calls, but yeah, I've got to, I just have to, and thank you very much. He actually, if you want to see his last video, he mentions me. He had a YouTube channel called DCP Effects. You could actually go check out his channel. And you'll see, like, it was literally the day he died, he posted his last video. Yes, I love Kefka's Lad. Kefka is just like my favorite Final Fantasy villain of all time. And yes, I worked on in small parts. So like on the Harry Potter films, I did a little bit of compositing on like 1 or 2 scenes each. So I didn't even create the effects. I just put them in the scene. There is a massive amount of people that work on films, and a lot of us, like, you see all those names, and you might work on like a tiny little part of one scene. And actually, I was subcontracted, so I'm not in the credits of either of those movies. So don't sit through all the credits and watch for me. All right, so some more questions here. Let's see. Okay. What's one positive and one negative about hosting the series? So one positive would be, I mean, now I specifically committed myself to not monetize any of my YouTuber of the Month videos. But when you post a YouTuber of the Month video, especially when you're a small channel, you will get a lot of eyeballs. Now, a lot of people are just going to the video, writing in the comment, I vote for so-and-so because they've been asked to, and leaving. But there are some people like PJ Venom, like Raza is Retro, who actually check out your channel, and you might get a subscriber from that. And the good kind of subscriber, the subscribers that I've gotten from being a winner in YouTuber of the Month and hosting have been ones that, not every video, but they check in now and then, and they watch the video and they comment and they interact with you. They take part in the social media part of YouTube. And that's one thing I have absolutely loved. And I've gotten to know several of those people through this competition, including being host. And one negative, as Upper Nimbus is feeling right now, the stress at the change of every month of, will I get a hold of this person? Will they respond in time? Will they give me their nominees? Will they shoot a video that I can actually get? Once your video is running, you're totally fine. But then you start to get the anxiety of, okay, whoever's going to win, I have to find a way to contact them. So one of the things when you're getting the nominations for each month is you ask the person to A, check with them first, check with the channels that they're willing to be nominated, and B, get contact information for them. And please send it to me. The majority of months, I didn't get contact information from the person who made the nominations. So I would spend some time trying to find out, okay, how am I going to contact this person? And are they going to reply? Because, you ask them to confirm that they want to be a part of this community, and maybe they don't. And then when you contact them, if they say, well, I don't want to, okay, then you go to the second place, and you go to the third place, and you get fourth place, fifth place, maybe. What if none of them want to be nominated? And there was also a stress throughout the year. It's like, what if nobody wants to run for YouTuber of the Year? I had a contingency plan for that. So that's an issue. And yeah, that's the biggest negative I would find. There's no negative in terms of my content. I don't think it interrupted my content at all. I was pretty well prepared for every month. I made the video, had most of it ready. It was generic enough that I could drop in whoever won, and then just make the tag page once they told me what their nominations were. So Raz's Retro says, what's your favorite fighting game series? I have always sucked at fighting games. I button mash. If I do any kind of special move, it's a miracle. And therefore, believe it or not, my favorite fighting series is Super Smash Brothers, because there aren't any special moves. You've got, like, every character has different moves, but there's nothing where you have to, like, spin 3/4 of the D-pad and then press BA and then yeah, there's none of that because I suck at fighting games. So it would be Super Smash Brothers, which again is kind of maybe a basic bitch answer, but what's the next convention I'm guesting at? I am not currently planning on, or have been asked to guest at any. Their Pinball Expo did send a email asking who was willing to come back. I am hoping to go to Midwest Gaming Classic again, and I am hoping to go to the Portland Retro Gaming Expo because that is just my favorite convention. Both of them would cost money to go, so maybe I see if they're willing to have me as a guest, even if they just pay for my ticket to enter, like an exhibitor pass or a guest pass or something. That might be worth it to help me get there. But as of right now, I don't have any plans currently. And yes, a runner-up. The runner-up here, though, you might have the same problem that I had with Vietnam Retro Broadcast in that they are not English as a first language. But that is a possibility, too. And Zen Bloke, you were my contingency plan because you were runner-up in the last year. If nobody this year wanted to take it on, I would have offered it to you. That was my plan. And yes, PRGE is king. And it is also the gathering. It's kind of the unofficial gathering of the Intellivision homebrew community, which I'm a big part of. So, because a lot of those guys are West Coast. Okay, so another question that Real Bit Wars was asked last year is, do you think YouTuber of the Month has any value now, or should it be left to wither on the vine and die? I kind of mentioned this before. I think YouTuber of the Month has great value for the people participating in it. I think it is just as relevant now as it was when it started. That doesn't mean it's relevant to everybody who has participated in it in the past. I would love to keep that retro thing in, and Upper Nimbus mentioned that aside from maybe an additional rule, there would not be a change to that. So I love that. Again, that doesn't mean it'll be a retro channel, just that there's something retro there. And so I think as long as it has value to the people participating, the channels that are nominated, and the people that are coming and voting, that it has absolute value. And that's kind of in my tag of my YouTuber of the Year video. I said, and this is now directed at Upper Nimbus because we know that he won and he'll be the host for 2025. The competition is yours, and what you do with it, provide, within, like, it's a gaming channel competition. Don't make it a ping pong competition, but within that very broad scope, what you do with it is your business, and it's your job is to keep it relevant for the people who are participating, not necessarily to please previous hosts, not necessarily to cling on to any specific group. Now, there is a community that follows it. I would say certainly if a previous host pops up and says and has a big issue with what you're doing, you should consider that. But at the end of the day, you're running it. And everything else is background noise, including me now. And I know at some point in time, this competition, retro will be, the PS4, the PS5, Xbox 360 and stuff like that. That's not retro to me. That will never be retro to me because I'm an old fart. But just because it's not relevant to me anymore doesn't mean it's not relevant. So that's what I have to say about that. I don't think it should die. I think as long as it's relevant to the people participating in it, that's what matters. Let's see. What will I miss about hosting? And do I look at the competition differently because of it? I will miss the community, and kind of being the head of that community. That said, I'm glad my year's done. I did what I came to do. I did my story arc. I have one last thing to do. I got to record some stuff for Upper Nimbus, which I'm going to be doing after the stream to send to him for his first video, a little pass the torch element that he's asked me for. And do I look at the competition differently because of it? Yeah, when you're on the nominee side, you're thinking, oh, I can get more views and more interaction, and I can meet these people and all that. Every month, I didn't have any favorites. You know, anybody could win. But every month I looked at it as, okay, the person, if I was to vote, I'm not necessarily, and you know, I'll be voting a lot in 2025. I'm not necessarily going to be voting for my personal favorite channel. Like there are channel, again, I'm a second gen, third gen guy. I'm going to be voting for who I think would be the best host for the next year. And that was always my view of it. It's who's going, I'm going to vote for the channel, and they might choose not to run, but I am going to be voting for who I think would make the best next host, because that ensures the future of the competition. I might really like somebody's content, but vote for somebody that I don't like their content as much because I think they do a better job hosting the series. All of our nominees this year, I think, would have done a fantastic job. I was very happy with the people who chose. I was a little disappointed with some who decided that they weren't going to run. One thing that did pop up a lot, and so this, one of the rules is that you have to have an on-screen personality. And when that rule was first implemented by, I believe, on a retro trip, that meant you had to physically be on camera. And at some point, I think it was during Generation Pixel's run, that included voiceover. You didn't actually have to be on camera, but it had to be your voice, not AI or anything like that. So that's one, like, you could certainly not argue, like guys like last year, Mark Goes Blind Gaming was nominated. And you can't, like, he's never on camera, but you cannot deny he's got tons of personality in that voiceover. This year, Dr. Volk was one. Acid Cheese Gaming, lots of personality, but they don't appear on camera. It would be interesting to see how they would host YouTuber of the Month. So I think moving forward, like, the majority of my votes are going to go to people who are actually on camera. I think that makes for better hosting. But also, you know, if it moves to somebody who's not on camera, as long as they've got lots of personality, like Dr. Volk, he'd have his little alias, or what's it called, avatar. And it would be in different costumes and look different ways. I think he would have done a great job. But I think that on-screen personality thing is something that we need to ensure. And yeah, like with the December nominees, that wasn't necessarily the case. It was borderline. So yeah, so that's my kind of view on it. Generation Pixel, another former host. He hosted in 2022. Welcome. And I agree. Like, now, having been a host, I kind of, like, that's how I view at it, even in all the monthly videos. So I'm going to kind of, I'll probably be voting that way. But if there's somebody that I just really, really love their content, I got to give them a shout out. Let's see here. I'll skip that one. Is there any channel that you wish you could have voted for? So when you're hosting, you obviously don't vote. You have to be impartial. You have to be unbiased. And my view of it too was, whether I personally like the channels that were nominated or not, as long as they fit in the rules that I set, even just barely, I have to let it go. Because when you win each month, your only prize is that you get to nominate 5 channels. So that's sacrosanct. You know, you get your 5 nominations. And if they fit in the rules, I'm not going to be like, well, actually, you know, I don't like that nominee. They're not good enough or anything like you. No, you can't do that. Your only reward is to nominate 5 channels. So even if they loosely fit, you've got to let them go through. And yes, Generation Pixel is the man, the myth, and the legend. But most of the channels were absolutely new to me, and some of them I fell in love with. But 2 channels were previous nominations. One is Angry Dad is a Joke, Retro Rockin' Gamer. He was one of my nominations, who I actually discovered from the person who came in second place. For those who don't recall or weren't watching at the time, I won. It was a come from behind victory, and I felt really bad. So I actually reached out and asked who his nominations, the second place, who his nominations were. And I said I would look at them, and if I like them too, I'll nominate your nominations. Because what he really wanted to do was nominate some of his friends. And I was able to take most of those, and because 2 of them were already going to be my nomination. And one of my nominations that I got through him was Dad is a Joke, Retro Rockin' Gamer. So I wish I could have voted for him. That would have been neat. I've been subbed to his channel for a year and a half now. And Raza is Retro. I voted for him last year when he was nominated. And when I saw he was nominated again this year, I think he came in second place. He lost out to Girl Gamer Rezi. But I would have liked to give him a vote just because, you know, fellow Canadian, somebody I voted for last year, somebody I've been subbed to for a year. Yeah, good guy. It doesn't necessarily mean that I didn't like the other channels that were nominated. I think Girl Gamer Rezi was a great monthly winner, and she ran a great campaign for YouTuber of the Year. But I would have liked to toss him a vote. And yeah, he came in second place twice. But you can still be nominated. 3rd time's the charm. 3rd time's the charm. Okay. I kind of covered this already. Somebody asked what was the biggest challenge of hosting. It's that transition period, getting a hold of the next person. And did you discover many channels that you now enjoy? I have, and I'm looking forward to diving deeper into several of them. The Original Masters definitely is one that I want to dive into. I have been diving into Benji's retrospective. I watch his Atari playlist. I watch his Master System playlist. I do it while I'm editing, and they're nice short videos, so they fit perfectly. I really like his channel. And there are multiple other channels that I want, like they've been in my queue for a long time, and I want to do that. What month was the most challenging? And we'll call this the last of the questions, unless there are any more in chat. But what month was the most challenging? There were 2. February, there was a previous host that came on and basically called all the nominations crap because they weren't retro channels. And I reiterate, it was never a condition in my rules that you had to be a retro channel. You just had to have some retro content. And if that previous host had looked at the channels, they would have noticed that each channel had some retro content in it. At the end of the day, if you don't like the channels that are nominated, don't vote that month. Wait till the next month. And things got more retro as we went along. We had some great nominations this year if you're a big retro fan. And basically posting and saying, these channels are awful, they're not retro. Can you imagine being nominated, being excited? Hey, you know, I'm going to get some acknowledgement. There's a community, and you go on and the first post is saying that your channel is crap. Which if you looked at the rules, like the rules that I posted on screen were the rules for qualifying to be nominated. But if you looked in the description of every video, the last thing was like, be respectful of everybody. Can you imagine coming in and the first video, first comment you see is that, and it's from a previous host? The person who posted that should be ashamed, quite frankly. If you've got a problem with the nomination, there were plenty of people who, like, there were people who took some issue with me putting the retro rule in there. And there were some people who really loved it. But there's a way to reset. And there was a previous host on a retro trip. He questioned some of the nominations some months, but he always did so respectfully. And he didn't say that they were a garbage channel or that they were crap because they weren't retro. He's like, does this one qualify for this? And some of them were very loosely. Like I said, I felt obliged as the host and the winners, their only award being to nominate 5 channels, that if they fit even loosely into those rules, that they should be able to nominate that channel. And so there were absolutely some channels that I thought were borderline, and especially this last one, because the other month that was difficult was December. So we had a Vietnamese channel win for YouTuber of the Month for December, and I was excited for that. It's something outside of the norm for this competition. Usually they're English channels. And he spoke English well enough, certainly better than I speak French, which is my second language. But I think there were some things lost in translation. So he knew what he had to do. He had to make 5 nominations and make a video and send it to me. And so I would be like, please clear these nominations with me first. Like send me the channels that you want to nominate, and then I'll tell you it's okay to make your video. And he kept responding, okay, I'll send you the video. Okay, I'll send you. And I'm like, no, you have to check them with me first. And then he sent me the video. And I would say that at least 2 of those nominations, I would have said they can't be nominated. And oddly enough, one of them wasn't the one that was called out by a former host. I thought that nomination was fine. But yeah, one of them had, the person wasn't on camera and they had an AI voice because they don't speak English. Which again, it's fine if you don't speak English, but it's got, like, AI is not an on-screen personality with voiceover. It isn't. No matter how well you write that script, it's AI. It's not a personality. So that made it very difficult. And I couldn't, because you're in a completely different time zone. It was like you send a message a day later, you get a message back, sometimes 2 days later. And I had to get the monthly video and the YouTuber of the Year video out. And if I had pushed back on it, it would have pushed it back probably another week. And then you get, for the YouTuber of the Year video, you get like a week to vote, week and a half to vote, and that's not enough. So I just took the nominees as is. It was very difficult. It was very stressful for me. It was also a very low voting month. So that was probably the most difficult, but also that February, it was very stressful because, again, like, I'm new in the competition, bushy-tailed and bright-eyed, and all of a sudden somebody, a former host, is saying that these are crap. And it's like, come on, man. Anyhow, hey, Total Level has just arrived. So that is all the questions I have. Are there any other questions in chat? I will stay as long as you guys want, about my channel, about the competition, about anything, anything gaming. I didn't answer all these questions because we actually had a decent amount of questions in the chat and all that. But Total Level, Joey, if you have any questions, you're free to ask any questions. Otherwise, I am going to wrap up. By all means, go back. and check out the stream. I will say, once again, congratulations to Upper Nimbus. And I don't think I mentioned this. This is the first time I was the second Canadian host. So Jason Relaxation's Canadian, and then I am Canadian. So that's your two Canadian hosts. But in between that, it was all American and British Isles. I know there was Irish, and Irish is not necessarily British, but British Isles. So this is the first time that the competition is going to Australia, and I think that is really cool. Although Upper Nimbus, you will probably have some very delayed responses to your congratulations, you won, send me your info. You'll have that probably with the vast majority of your nominees. You're going to have that wait a day for the response. Benji's retrospective showed up. I've said some very nice stuff about your channel in the stream. You'll have to watch it back, Benji. Love his playlists, particularly his Atari and Master System playlists. Retro Bliss, thank you very much, sir. Zembloke has another question. What do I think about those mini plug into a TV gaming boxes that can play everything? I think they're a good way for people to play. Like, I'm not a snob. I like physical media. I have always liked physical media. I am not a big fan of just collect a digital collection and play whatever you want. It's the same as when you have like 5,000 channels, and when you had 5 channels, you always had something to watch. When you have 5,000, you never know what to watch. But emulation is the future of a lot of retro consoles. And if your only way to play is to use Stella to play Atari, or play whatever, all the way up to, I think emulation goes up to PS2 era now. If that's your only way to play on these little boxes, I have zero problem with that. Play away. A big thing for me is just people playing and learning about these old consoles and appreciating the history of where we've come to where we are now. So any way that you can play, I have zero problem with that. Appreciate that so much. And yes, I believe it was the 16-bit brothers were Irish. I could be mistaken on that. But I believe they were. I believe that was the one. If I'm mistaken, I apologize. But and their channel, they don't make content anymore. But I think they were. If I'm wrong, my sincerest apologies. Mr. Postile says, no questions for me. Just wanted to say that you did a great job. I'm proud to call you friend. And that is thanks to Retro Bliss in this competition. Absolutely. I appreciate you as a friend, and I wouldn't have met Mr. Postile or Retro Bliss or any of these guys if it weren't for this competition. 16-bit brothers were Scottish? Okay, my bad. I thought they were Irish. I know that obviously you were Scottish. I know that you are Scottish. And I also know how much people get pissed off if you call a Scottish person Irish or an Irish person Scottish. But you are Celtic cousins. That is true. There we go. The real Bit Wars is here. Hey, Chris. And the 16-bit bros are indeed Irish. Yes, I was right. Joey says, I prefer physical too, and try to own a physical form, but when a game costs 400 plus, then emulation is where I go. Absolutely. Only an idiot like me would go and pay stupid amount of money for a game for a game that usually they're expensive because they suck. They suck, and therefore they didn't sell many, and therefore they're rare. There are definitely some exceptions to that, but only an idiot would go and spend that much money on a game that they could just emulate. And yeah, it is what it is. Cool. Yes, welcome, Chris. You'll have to watch it back. I answered some of the questions that you were asked last year too. Not all of them. Okay. So, if this is ending, I'd like to say this has been a good stream and your hosting over the last year was fab. Thank you very much, Sen. And I have no doubt that you would have been a great host as well. And it was awesome to collaborate to collaborate with you on that one episode and to be on your show for your vertical slice. And I hope to see lots more of you. I do watch your videos. I don't always comment, but I appreciate what you do on your channel. And absolutely go check out Zenbloke. And actually, you may still be running for YouTuber of the Year if it wasn't for Retro Bliss. Backwards. I'm not sure what that is, what that means. Benji has to go to work, so he can't watch till later today. But I'll tell you this, Upper Nimbus one. So it is going to Australia. It's not you, but it's going to Australia. And you are still, because you are under 1,000 subscribers, you are still eligible to be nominated again, and you could run again. So best of luck to you. Yes, just don't call us English. I don't make that mistake. You're British, you're not English. Anyhow, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what any of these comments mean. You'll have to text me later and explain what you meant. Okay, unless there are. Oh yes, I'm nominated. Yeah, So you may still be running for YouTube of the Year if it wasn't for Retro Bliss. Yes, and absolutely, you nominated me for, and I was YouTuber of the Month for July of 2023. But I don't understand. Like, if you hadn't, I wouldn't still be in the running for YouTuber of the Year. I don't think I would have been nominated anyhow, because none of those guys that you nominated knew me, and I don't think many, if any, of the people who were nominated after knew about me. So I appreciate that you nominated me, and you are the reason that I was YouTuber of the Month, and you're the reason that I'm YouTuber of the Year. But I am not any longer. It is Upper Nimbus. So congratulations. Yes. So I think that is it. I don't think there are any more questions. So I'm going to wrap this up unless anybody has anything else they wanted to ask. But I wanted to thank everybody this year. Like, I meant what I said. This is the most fulfilling thing that I've ever done on the platform. I was honored to be the host. I am honored to pass it on to Upper Nimbus. I think he's going to do a great job. Please, everybody, go check out his channel. Bookmark, save, like, subscribe, and support him as he hosts for 2025. I know I will be there. Congratulations again, and best of luck to you. It has been an absolute blast. I've appreciated the support, and I am really looking forward to see, year to year, how this competition evolves. One of the things I appreciated the most is when former hosts would come in and comment and cast their vote. Do You Nerd, just absolute great people. Tom and Lacey, the Real Bit Wars, just former hosts coming back and supporting you makes you feel a lot better. It makes you feel like you're not screwing up, because especially when you start, you're nervous. Like, you are now the head of this community. And it is a commitment. You're going to be doing it for a year. That's 13 videos, one monthly video every month, and an extra YouTuber of the Year month in December. But here he says here, thanks again. I'll chat to you soon enough. Thanks again to everyone for the support as well. And that's the biggest thing, is just feeling supported, feeling seen, and doing right. So like I said at the end of my video too, as long as you give the competition the respect and care and effort that it deserves, how each video turns out doesn't really matter. As long as people can see that you are putting the effort into it to do it properly, the competition is going to be just fine. And thank you very much, Critical Ranker. And I'm going to leave it on this comment here because it is exactly what I like to say. Here it's afternoon, but for PJ Venom, it's nighttime. Good night to all. Thank you for a great 2024 and best wishes for your 2025, especially you, Upper Nimbus. You're going to do a great job. You have my support. Message me if you need any help, and we can maybe figure out. I would give the winner another day, maybe even a day and a half to get back before we try to go to a backup plan. But and I like this. So Real Bit Wars founded this kind of tradition. Keep the Q&A live next year also. Please do. I'd love to hear from you again at the end of your hosting year to see how you feel about it and what your challenges were. So long, everybody. Thank you again. Best wishes. And we'll see you next time. Not only here on Mike's Gaming Gala, but on the Upper Nimbus channel. So bye, everyone.